Umatac. It's still in an ongoing investigation. Although our detectives were able to make an arrest, two arrests regarding this case. I just want to put it out there that the Guam Police Department has yet to identify the victim regarding this case. So, again, if I may be afforded the opportunity to reiterate what had transpired over the weekend on April 3rd, which was a Saturday. Our officers from the Southern Precinct Command had initiated a expired persons investigation relative to a lifeless man that was discovered at a home in Umatac. Now, the investigation prompted the activation of our criminal investigation division relative to the man that was discovered did not reside in that home. To the course of the investigation, which pretty much took the entire weekend, our detectives were able to identify two persons of interest. One was identified as 59-year-old Rudy Berger Kanata, and the second person of interest was identified as 32-year-old joiner Scott Skid. I gotta commend the efforts of the Guam Police Department's patrol, our neighborhood patrol officers, our respective precincts. We were able to, in a timely manner, locate the individuals that were identified as persons of interest. And, the arrest charges were subsequently brought forth to Mr. Kanata and, of course, to Miss Skid, and charges of murder for Mr. Kanata, to include Ms. Joyner Skid, and of course the charges of aggravated assault and the commission and use of a deadly weapon. Again, the Guam Police Department continues to work with the Office of the Attorney General in getting that conviction and relative to this incident or this heinous crime that actually happened and the loss of a life. And speaking in general, it's really something that when we report it affects everybody in the greater community, not just when the immediate village proper that it happened. The greater community is greatly affected by this. So, moving forward, we're going to wait. We're going to continue to work with the Office of the Attorney General and, of course, the investigation in itself, and move forward and, continue to work to garner the conviction of the charges that were laid on the individuals that were arrested by our detectives.
What time did GPD or Southern Precinct respond to Umatac?
Sure. So that was on Saturday, shortly before 6:30. It was a call that was made out for a welfare check. So, this is where pretty much spun everything into motion with the initial investigation and, of course, the activation of our detectives.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturday, April 3rd.
Mm-hmm. What's a welfare check?
So it's really just making a courtesy check on individuals. We do it a lot with the Guam Police Department. Concerns from the community, neighbors may have concerns of, inactivity, and they ask the Guam Police Department to do welfare checks. We see it a lot with elders, concerned family members who may be living abroad, concerned citizens who may see kids who are outside being unattended or playing, of course, are unattended. They'll call the department, they'll call the respective precinct just to do a cursory welfare check on the, the family, to see if everything's okay. So it's just a courtesy check to see if everything is okay. There's supervision, there's merits of care that's provided. So it's really a concern, when we do welfare checks, it's just a concern from the community to check on their respective neighbors or family.
I spoke with the family, and they said that they hadn't heard from the former mayor in 3 days. So instances like that, and they become concerned, they're not answering the phone, then you can call over to GPD. And,
Yes.
I mean, something as simple as I just haven't heard from them in a while and I'm worried, or, they're on medication, so I don't know, right? And so when did this go
Yep.
from
Right,
welfare
yeah,
check?
but so the person that made the welfare check, it wasn't for where he lived. It was at a different person's house, right?
Yeah,
So somebody
yeah,
called and said, "Can you check my relative over at so and so's house?"
yeah. So,
That's what happened.
again, we we are gonna, again, this is the incident that spun in the investigation for an expired person. A check was made, and this is where the discovery. So, again, in the interest of the rights to due process, we're gonna wait until more information is provided by our detectives. So again, this is where we are with the investigation. The question of the time and everything, the incident or the complaint being initiated was on Saturday, April 3rd, shortly after 6:30. It was really officers doing a check of the area, a check of the home. And that's where they discovered the lifeless man who did not reside at that location.
What's the address for the home where he was found?
I don't have the address available right now. I apologize. I don't have the address on me.
Was he found at the suspect's house?
I'm sorry.
Was he found at the suspect's house?
I don't have the address or as to whose home that is. I don't have that available on me right now. The only information that I received from our detective was that of the lifeless man that was located in that home did not reside at that home. So I don't know whose home it is.
Is that information, though, you say you don't have it on you right now, but is that information you could get and then let the media know?
I'm going to meet with our detectives as soon as I'm done with my media obligations that I have in the morning. And again, this happened within the span of over the weekend, and getting the proper, getting the information for the entire week is, it's going to require me to sit down and meet with them, being that an arrest was made, and of course, moving forward with, the court proceedings thereafter, any arrest that was made. So getting more information will be provided, or, I will be able to provide that to the greater media. So, again, it's sitting down with our detectives to get more information from them.
Sarge, what, like procedurally, right? Maybe not even specifically, but when you get a welfare check and then officer goes to whatever residence it may be, and they visually confirm a lifeless person inside the house, what's the next step? Because it looks like there was a long time that went between the welfare check and the discovery of the lifeless man to like the actual detectives being on the scene.
It leads to really exigent circumstances, to preserve life. If we, in incidents where we discover that, it's really exigent circumstances of the officer's action will prevail, allowing the officer to gain entry into the residence, and of course, providing the assistance, rendering the assistance that's needed. There's incidents where, we may have to breach a door because of exigent circumstances that will allow us to, provide aid and care. Getting the information to activate and getting the proper information, that's part of the preliminary investigation that's done by our patrol officers. Should we need to initiate the activation of our detectives from the Criminal Investigation Division. So there's a preliminary process that is done by our first initial officers, our first at scene officers, which are predominantly our patrol officers who respond to these calls, who make the assessment, and of course who make the determination that we need to activate our detectives relative to the findings. And it's the decision that's made collectively with the information gathered, and of course the movement of the immediate field supervisor on scene.
So what time did CID show up?
I don't have the time frame of when they arrived at scene, but the time frames and everything will be indicated with the preliminary report that's provided by, of course, the preliminary officer. Because again, once we activate our detectives, whether it be from the Criminal Investigation Division, or like juvenile or domestic assault response team. They will, upon arriving on scene, will assume the case investigation. So it's pretty much like handing off,
Yeah.
gathering the information and handing it off to the investigator that's on scene.
Can you confirm, because I spoke with the family and they said that CID didn't show up. Well, they didn't show up when I was there Sunday morning. So can you confirm that they showed up on Sunday? At least if you can't give the time.
They were there. They were there on Saturday. I spoke to the sergeant of operations that was on Saturday, and they were deploying the teams out. So the teams were already deployed, and they were moving on information gathered of the person of interest, and of course down at the scene. So there was two teams that had been deployed relative to this investigation. So yeah, again, the optics based on timeline and everything. There's a lot of things that are happening outside of what you see in the front. So there's a lot of things going on, with the movements of the teams, getting the teams spun up, getting all the proper information. So, again, this is where the critical handoff portion from our patrol officers, it's critical. And this is why, we want to commend our efforts of our patrol officers, because gathering the information and moving in the direction of where we needed to go with the investigation, it's critical because time is an essence. And within the discovery and of course the initial complaint and when we were able to effectuate the arrest, it's a great timeline. The timeline in itself, it speaks, significance of the work that was put in by overall the Guam personnel, our uniform officers from the Guam Police Department.
Quickly, Kanata and Sked, they do have quite a criminal history, a criminal past. Are you aware if they have any active cases pending before the court?
I don't know if he has any active cases. The individuals that were arrested will have cases of previous incidents with, of course, going through the adjudication process. It's not in the Guam Police Department to put any previous cases. It's really to lay forth the charges that our detectives or the Guam Police Department has found in reference to the ongoing case. So understanding, the rights to due process to protect that individual's rights, we're not going to expound on previous past or any records and everything.
Well, when you guys do respond to a scene, you guys would kind of be familiar if who you're dealing with, right?
The familiarity will go in, but these are things that will aid our investigators. But we will just focus on the charges that were laid forward, and this is why with our release, it's pretty much a clear picture as to the charges.
No, it's not clear, but the use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony, that was a charge for Joyner Scott Sked. What weapon are we talking about?
I don't have the information of the weapon that was used. So again, as I gather the information from our detectives, I'll provide that to you. Again, please, we want to protect the interests and the rights to due process, and of course to protect the integrity of the investigation moving forward. So there's a lot of things that may not be appealing to some of the viewers in understanding what but to provide the information that an incident didn't happen, a life was lost. We were able to identify individuals that were persons of interest, and we were able to locate these individuals and bring the charges forward of murder, aggravated assault, and the commission of use. So, there's a lot of things that are happening here with this investigation.
Are you guys anticipating any other arrests in connection to this case?
This investigation is still ongoing. So, we're still moving forward with this investigation. So, it's a big case.
It's a big case.
Whenever we move into a homicide investigation, these are considered big cases for our investigators.
So it's a homicide investigation.
These types of investigations where a life is lost, it's a person was charged, two individuals were charged for murder.
Sarge, are you able to say if drugs or alcohol were a factor?
I don't know I don't have information to determine any factor as to what had happened. Um, these are things that I will get from a detective.
Did you have anything else on this particular case?
Go ahead.
I had something and I just forgot. Will GBD be providing testimony this afternoon on this bill regarding silencers and mufflers and noise reduction type
suppressors?
stuff? Yeah.
The bill that's being authored by,
Senator Tony Ada and who else?
It's I want to say Senator Ada Blas. It's the Republicans.
Yeah.
I would reach out to Chief to see if we're gonna, provide any written or any verbal formal testimony in regards to this.
What happens now,
we
though,
did-
Sarge? What happens if you guys like pull somebody over and they have a silencer or suppressor?
We have to follow the letter of the law that's written. If it's passed and it becomes law and everything, and anything that's passed by legislation and of course moved into law, voted and of course becomes law, then we follow the letter of law. So if there's any violation of law, we will we are sworn to uphold the law. So.
But what happens? Is
anything-
it like an arrestable offense, or do they just get it confiscated?
I'm sorry.
If like, let's say I get pulled over and I have a silencer, am I getting booked and confined? Is there an arrest, or do I just get it confiscated?
So of course, within the law, there's prosecution aspects, and of course, the infraction, and of course the penalties that will serve in any violation of this law. So I'm not too familiar with this new bill or this new law that's being introduced. Again, I would have to reach out to Chief Ignacio to see if we're going to provide any written or any verbal testimony. But again, the penalties that are written in the law, or it's provided with the authored within the law, will dictate how our officers move forward. Whether confiscation of evidence is really critical to prove, because the burden of proof does fall on the government, and evidence in itself will provide that the burden of proof for the government. And the officer's testimony based on observation, and of course, with the arrest record that would be provided for any violation of law. So to answer your question, if they're found within any violation of any firearms, it will be confiscated. And again, the penalties that serve, whether it be a pro-confinement policy or an arrestable offense that will require you to pay substantial amount of fines to the courts. Again, this is part of the adjudication process.
Is there anything new with the Jerry's Kitchen investigation? Is it closed or
That's still
ongoing?
Active. Since the Chief Stephen Ignacio initiating a follow-up investigation with our Highway Patrol Division, I've been briefed that they're going to be presenting the findings to the chief. I can get the determination as to when the final date and stuff, when they're going to move forward with the findings that they're going to be presenting to the chief. So if you allow me, maybe by Wednesday, I can get back to you guys in regards to that.
Okay. So it's done. They just need to present the findings to the chief of police.
Yeah, it's still ongoing. So it's still an active case, but again, the findings and everything will be presented to the chief. So I'll find out when Highway Patrol is finalizing their closure of this follow-up investigation.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Paul.
Absolutely. You guys take care.
Thank you,
Stay safe.
Sarge. Okay.
I'll do my best to get those information and those inquiries that you were asking.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Stay safe. God
You
bless
too.
you
Stay
guys.
safe.
Happy Easter. Sergeant Paul Tapao. Obviously, there's very little that they can say with an ongoing investigation. Is it frustrating sometimes? Yeah, of course it is. 9:37.
Yeah, and so the magistrate's complaint, though, should be coming out this afternoon if Sked and Canetta are magistrated this afternoon. And so when that comes out, it kind of gives you a little bit of the details.
Right.
What happened.
Yeah, that's got the Magis. It's kind of like a mashup of like the police report, and then anything else investigators are able to glean through interrogation or, discussions with these suspects. But That's how we started Easter Sunday. Just the chat was blowing up over this case, and I actually went down to talk to the family, and they were frustrated because they had said that the body of the former mayor was in this house, and that it was still in the house the morning after GPD did the welfare check. So they were asking. It was very sad as they were asking me, is there any way I could like fast track the body getting out of the house? And I don't know what issues they had that they weren't able to go in and retrieve it, even though Sgt Tapao kind of confirmed that they visually confirmed that there was indeed a lifeless man inside of this property. So, our condolences going out to the family. They were all out there, real tough scene, as there was probably, I would say, about a dozen cars and about 50 different family members, many of them crying.